Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to another tactic video where today I'm going to be sharing with you my updated 4-2-3-1 custom tactics. Now the 4-2-3-1 is probably the most popular formation in FIFA, and it's a formation that everybody absolutely loves, and it's a formation that is brilliant because it's so easy to use and it is so difficult to play against because it doesn't really have any weaknesses. Now, I don't personally think the 4-2-3-1 is as good as it maybe has been in previous years, but it is still one of the best formations every single year in FIFA, and this year it's no different. Now, I did like the 4-2-3-1 pre-patch. I thought it was a brilliant formation. It was actually one of, if not my favorite formation. Since I've been using it post-patch, I wanted to test it out, see how good it is, and I have changed up the tactics and the way I like to play with this. I've kind of tried to change my approach in the way I build my tactics and try and build them a bit more attacking and on the front foot. So if that is something you like, then hopefully you will enjoy today's tactic video. Now, today's tactics, these have been the tactics that I've been using for the 4-2-3-1. And the main change that has been made is I've gone to fast build-up for the build-up play. Now, that's mainly because I've wanted to play a little bit quicker. I do think the game has kind of become a little bit more about counter-attacking. And the 4-2-3-1 is quite a strong formation defensively. You know, it's tough to break down, and it's very good to kind of play that quick, fast, tiki-taka type football. So playing fast build-up is very, very effective in these types of formations, and a 4-2-3-1 is no different. It's a brilliant formation to play the 4-2-3-1 in with fast build-up. So I've decided to give fast build-up a run, and I've absolutely loved it. It's been massively successful for me. Mainly, I've been playing with it in Rivals. I haven't really been playing with it too much in Champs because the formations that I've been using in Champs have been working very, very well. So I've kind of just been playing Rivals with this setup and having lots of fun, definitely winning more games than I've been losing, and the fast build-up has been a large part of that, just being a bit more attacking. And yet, even though it's quite offensive, hasn't really been leading to too many problems the other way, so that's really, really good. But moving back forwards and going a little bit further back to the defensive style, again, I'm playing with balance. Now, I don't really like to play with the press too much. I don't think it's very effective in many formations, certainly not for my playstyle. My playstyle doesn't really utilize a press. It's not one of my biggest strengths as a player. So I like to, because I can't press, and rather than trying to press, if you can't press and you're not very good at it, then I would never recommend playing with a press on the defensive style, because you're just then trying to do something that you know you're going to fail at. You'd be better off playing with the balanced defensive style, which is going to make you a little bit more defensive. It's going to make you stronger defensively, but it's not going to lead to like unnecessarily opening yourself up if you can't press properly. It takes skill to press properly, so if you can't do it, I wouldn't recommend trying. In terms of defensive width, we've gone for around about 40 in this formation, which is really good, because it is quite a narrow formation anyway, and I would rather people have space. It's always better to let people have space out on the wings or where the left and right midfielders are, you know, than have space in the middle of the pitch. The last place you want your opponent to have the ball is in the middle of the pitch. So it's recommended that, if anything, if you do want to change your defensive width, it's recommended to go a little bit narrower, in my opinion. I'd rather my opponents have the ball out wide on the wing than sort of in the, you know, in and around sort of the 18-yard, 25-yard area where they could potentially bang some finesse shots. Yes, they could bang them from out wide, but you know, I'd rather them make the effort there than in the middle of the pitch. In terms of depth, I'm playing on around about 55 at the moment, but my depth very much changes based really on how I'm feeling on the day. Sometimes I feel really confident in the way I'm playing, and I'll move it up to 65, and sometimes maybe I will feel a little bit less confident, I'll move it down to 55. Generally, my range for depth is anywhere from 55 to 70. I kind of play anywhere in there. I never go below 55, and I never go above 70. So I would recommend anywhere in there is the kind of sweet spot. I wouldn't say that there's an exact, this is the exact number you want to play. I would just say that's the range. So I would try anywhere between 55 and 70 and see what suits you. I wouldn't recommend going any deeper than that. You're just going to be labeled as someone who's ultra defensive, and I don't want to promote that at all. But going beyond 70 might be a little bit too gung-ho and a little bit too offensive. So I'd recommend going anywhere between 55 and 70 and just find your sweet spot. You know, find whatever works for you. Different formations to require different depth. I find the more attacking formations, for example, a 4-3-3-4, would work really well on sort of 65. Whereas something like a 4-2-3-1 that is naturally a little bit more defensive in its setup because of the way the positions are, would probably benefit from being on around about 55, and that's kind of where I've stuck to. In terms of chance creation, we are playing on balanced at the moment. I didn't want to try anything else. I didn't find it very effective. Direct passing didn't really work at all for this formation, in my opinion. Forward runs is too offensive. Possession is just a little bit too slow, and it's a bit counterproductive. If you're going to play fast build-up, you know, why would you play possession for chance creation? That doesn't make any sense. So I decided to stick with balance, and that has been super successful. In terms of width, we've gone on around about 60. That is really great in terms of, gives us a little bit of options, and especially because our cams all play on free roam. They drift around very well, so we need to have a little bit of width in the team, and then plays in the box, corners and free kicks is the standard stuff for all formations. Now, in terms of the instructions, of course, Donnarumma is going to want to be on comes for crosses and sweep keeper. I'd recommend that for any keeper that is tall, that's quite agile, that's got good speed. They, of course, want to be on sweep keeper and comes for crosses. Definitely recommend doing that. In terms of the fullbacks in this formation, I'm going to suggest having the fullbacks on stay back while attacking. Again, because it's naturally a more defensive formation, and because there is sort of a little bit of width going forwards, there's good creativity in the players going forwards. I don't think we need to have the fullbacks going forwards in this formation. I don't think it's necessary, and I think if you are somebody who struggles defensively, I would recommend having them on stay back while attacking. I don't think you need to have them going forwards. I think the formation is a lot stronger when these guys do stay back, and of course, you know, when you come up, the better the player you are, you're going to come up against better opposition. So I do think if you're in that category, then stay back while attacking is the way to go with this formation. In terms of the two DMs, now this is kind of a tricky one because it depends on how you want to play. If you want to be a little bit more defensive and a little bit more solid, then of course you can have these guys on the standard cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking and cover center. If you have midfielders that are maybe a little bit more offensive, if for example you had Pogba and Bruno Fernandes as your CDMs, I would recommend playing with your DMs on balance. Now I have tried this out a lot and it is very effective if you want to play with the 4-2-3-1 more on the front foot. It depends really on your personnel. Because I've got Fabinho and Makalele in there, of course stay back while attacking is going to be the obvious option. Because they're not good attacking players, you know, they're not going to really benefit going forward. So it depends on the personnel. If you've got quite attacking DMs, I would play on balanced attack. If you've got defensive DMs, I would recommend playing on stay back while attacking. In terms of the central cam, Paul Pogba, he's of course going to be on get into the box and free roam. And in fact, all three of the cams are going to be on get into the box and free roam. Now, one thing that I liked last year in FIFA is I actually had my wide cams on stick to position. Now, the reason why I had these on stick to position was because then I always had a left and a right cam that had a little bit of width in the team that kind of made up for the fact that my fullbacks were staying back. In this formation, because I think the game this year, I think because the game is a little bit more intelligent, the players are a bit smarter and they move around a lot cleverer. They don't kind of like bump into each other. It's very rare that you have two players in the same spot on the pitch. So I think they're a lot cleverer. So I think you can get away with playing with these guys all on free roam this year. And it's very effective. Now, I have tried a little bit with the guys on the wide players on stick to position. I personally didn't like it. I found that they got stuck out there and they didn't really get involved in the game. They didn't score. They didn't create chances. They weren't really involved in the game at all. I felt like the majority of the work was done by the two DMs, the cam and the striker, and that they were kind of just stood there doing nothing. So free roam is definitely what I'd recommend. And in terms of the striker, Firmino up top, he's going to be on stay central and getting behind. Now, of course, Firmino isn't necessarily the quickest striker. So in this instance, I would potentially be looking to play Firmino on false 9 or maybe even on target man. If you've got a fast striker, of course, stay central and getting behind is the way to go. I wouldn't recommend playing with the false 9 because there is that cam in there, so he doesn't need to drop. You know, he's going to drop into kind of on top of where Pogba is, and that doesn't really make any sense. So I'd recommend if you've got a fast striker, of course, stay central, getting behind. If you've got a Lukaku, a Haaland, someone like that, I would probably recommend using target man and then allow the wide cams, especially if you've got quick wide cams like we have Son and Salah. They'll make the runs, they'll use their speed behind your target man up front. So it depends who you have up front. In this instance, I'm going to use Firmino on stay central and getting behind because that's what I would recommend. Generally, I'd imagine most people have pacey strikers, so that would be the way to go. So they are my updated 4-2-3-1 custom tactics. A brilliant formation, obviously the most popular formation in FIFA 22 and generally just in FIFA. So they're the tactics that I would recommend to use at the moment. So if you did enjoy the video and you would like to see more, do drop a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. But that is all for today, guys. Have an awesome day. I'm out.